I remember the first time I played Resident Evil. It was in 1998 when Resident Evil 2 launched on the first-gen PlayStation. I rented the game from Blockbuster with my friend Josh, and we spent the weekend playing through what was one of the best looking and most terrifying games we had ever seen. It was such an impressive experience that I still remember the game's most terrifying moments today. And here I am, 28 years later, having a remarkably similar experience.
Stay away!
Resident Evil Requiem just launched, and it's one of the best looking and most terrifying games that I have ever played. And I'm way more of a scaredy cat these days also. So much so that I made my wife come hang out with me while I was playing the game, and at one particular horrifying moment, she just said, nope, and got up and walked out of the room, leaving me to deal with this nightmare all on my own. Don't worry, I won't spoil that particular moment for you. I'd want you to figure that one out on your own. Now, Capcom understood even with their early games that dialing up their visuals would give them more tools to terrify their player base. And Resident Evil Requiem's visuals are stunning. It really has unparalleled graphics and artistic storytelling. And the devs are actually using their own custom RE engine, built specifically for Resident Evil games, which have a very linear narrative design. So the devs actually built this engine when they were making Resident Evil 7, and they've been iterating on it ever since. And honestly, it's incredibly impressive what they've done here. I mean, some of these motion captured acting scenes are incredible. It feels like I'm watching a movie. It adds so much more depth to the characters when I'm not focused on how their facial animations might not be as accurate as real people. The game characters can convey just so much emotion, especially fear, which is kind of the primary emotion that they will be expressing.
Hey! Help!
Now, I do want to explore some of the visuals of this engine even further, but also look at the frame rate that they can deliver. Well over 200 FPS with maxed out graphics. I actually ended up playing this game on a Blade 16 laptop from Razer with an RTX 5090 GPU inside of it, which allowed me to turn on DLSS 4 to get just insane performance. I want to give Nvidia a huge shout out for sponsoring this video and lending me this insane hardware to play the game on. Gaming laptops are so much better than they've ever been. This Blade 16 is crazy slim, like I have no idea where they even put the 5090 in this thing. And it also has a 240 Hertz OLED display, which looks better than my normal PC display. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's not just for show, because the laptop can actually hit 240 FPS and exceed that even at maxed out graphics in Resident Evil thanks to DLSS. And Nvidia keeps pushing their DLSS tech. DLSS 4's latest version with multi-frame generation, path tracing, and reflex basically keeps the game's visuals looking insane while still feeling incredibly responsive. I've spent a lot of time covering DLSS tech over the years. Even before I was a YouTuber, I was really following all the gains that they're making in their different anti-aliasing technology. And it's kind of insane how much further they're able to push it even nowadays. Even the past couple of years have shown massive improvements. They've improved the upscaling quality, massively reduced latency, and they just pushed the upsides of this technology while making the downsides more or less negligible. So getting back into Resident Evil Requiem, the RE engine is just using all of this tech to masterful effect, especially with the lighting. We've got ray trace lighting turned on, and I gotta say, when you're using a flashlight or a lighter to light your environment in this dark, creepy game, it's just as gorgeous as it is scary. I'd say that horror games actually benefit significantly more from cool ray trace technology than, say, your average action FPS, where it's more of a icing on the cake for some of those action adventure games, but a horror game, it can be used as a literal mechanic to find objects that you couldn't otherwise find, and to have that lighting look next level, like highly realistic, just takes the immersion to a level that I honestly haven't seen before. It seems silly to talk about how good a flashlight looks in a video game, but when you compare it to how flashlights look in other games, you're like, well, this looks better. It looks a lot better, in fact. Now, I'd argue that the lighting engine is probably the most important thing in a video game that needs a good sense of mood or drama, but also the material work in this game is incredible, and basically how the light reacts to materials goes hand in hand. The detail, the dirt maps, the texturing, it's seamless, like across the board. One texture seam, one low-res texture could really take you out of the mood. There was nothing going through this whole game. It is spotless. It is incredible. Like, there's dirt and grime everywhere you think there should be dirt and grime. It's like somebody went over this game with a fine-tooth comb just to make sure that every single nook and cranny had the right amount of dust in it. And I gotta say, as somebody who also is making a game, I'm blown away by this attention to detail. And of course, this all makes sense because if you've ever played a Resident Evil game before, it's just as much a detective game as it is a horror game. You spend a lot of your time looking around at little clues, trying to find things that you need to progress in the game. There's a lot of sequences where there's a locked door, you got to find a key to it, or the tool you might need to cut open the door, or you might need to find a fuse to activate a switch somewhere. There's a lot of looking around, finding stuff, plus reading journals and clues, finding passwords. So if you're going to be spending that much time looking very closely at every little area of a room, I mean, you better spend the time to make it look good, and the devs have. Now, story-wise, you switch between playing two different characters. There's Grace, who I think the game wants you to actually play from the first-person perspective, which is cool. It's definitely creepier. And then there's Leon, who is recommended to play from the third person because he's more going to get involved in action sequences, shooting zombies and fighting the big monsters a bit more. I enjoyed playing both characters, but I gotta say, I think the game is most fun when you're just scampering around with a flashlight looking for clues and trying not to get eaten by some sort of giant horrific creature. The game is so good looking that I kind of ended up preferring some of the slower paced gameplay so that I could actually just hang out and enjoy the visuals. Now, all of the classic Resident Evil notes are here and present and just vibing out. You got Umbrella Corporation, references to Raccoon City, the T-Virus. Everything is going according or not according to plan. Grace is, of course, sent to investigate a super creepy area by herself, and that goes about as well as one would expect, but I mean, how else is she going to end up in these precarious situations? Now, I haven't played all the way through the game yet, but it's got its hooks in me. I'm invested in the story. I want to see what happens. And the franchise is really staying true to form. It's knocking it out of the park with its graphics. The story is fun. You always end up in some sort of mansion or hospital or some creepy place where you're walking down corridors and trying to find keys and reading notes before monsters or zombies jump out and try and get you. It is good, classic gaming horror fun, and the game is incredibly well optimized and runs like a dream on the 50 series GPUs, let alone a Razer Blade 16 laptop. Couldn't believe how good the performance was. Once again, a big shout out to Nvidia for sponsoring this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.